Lost City of Z is a biographical period drama that tells the story of Major Percy Fawcett, a British explorer who went out into the Amazonian rainforest to try and map the jungle, and then he ended up becoming embroiled in this kind of desperate kind of quest to discover this lost city of gold that he was determined was out there. And this one basically chronicles the explorations that Major Fawcett undertook into the jungle and the people that were around him in his life, some of which were on board with his adventures and some of which were more doubtful. The Lost City of Z was a film that I was really interested in checking out because it wasn't really on my radar until a while back, and I saw the trailer and I was like, that looks really cool. It really intrigued me, the trailer, because it really looked like a kind of throwback to the kind of classic adventure films of like the 50s, and it looked really cool and different. I was like, I want to check that out, and I got the opportunity to see it at a free screening last Sunday, and I love this film. It was it's hard to talk about because it's the kind of film where I'm not sure if everyone's going to love it. I'm not sure if it's going to be everyone's cup of tea. I really don't know how audiences are going to react to this. I don't know how American audiences are going to react to this. But for me personally, it was a film that was very kind of quietly captivating. It was kind of very unsuspectingly mesmerising for me, because sometimes you get a film where it's flashy and over the top and it's trying to be this really cool kind of thing. This film was very kind of almost hauntingly kind of mesmerising and captivating. It was very kind of quiet and modest and understated almost, but at the same time I just found myself transfixed and transported into the world of the film, and I thought it was absolutely spectacular. I love this film because it was different, because as I suspected, it was very much like a throwback to the kind of classic British adventure films from the 50s or something. It's not as, like an adventure film like, say, an Indiana Jones movie, although, funny enough, the real-life person of Major Fawcett was actually an inspiration for Indiana Jones. He's very much like the real-life Indiana Jones in this film, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I love the fact that this film was like a throwback to the kind of classic adventure films of the 50s, almost like the Errol Flynn films of the 30s or 40s. But although it was kind of harkening back to those kind of classic films from the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, it was still very much its own thing at the same time. Like it felt old-fashioned, yet kind of revolutionary at the same time. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like harkening back to the kind of classic films from like 50 years ago, but it still felt kind of new and different at the same time. And I love the fact that this film told this true story, and it was a story that I'm not really familiar with. I had no idea about this story. It's a real guy, this really happened. I don't want to get too much into the specifics of what actually happens, because I went into this film not really knowing much. I seen the trailer and that was about it. I knew the basic premise. It's not a story that I think mainstream audiences are going to gravitate towards, but at the same time I like the fact that it was respectful to the true story, but it was also worked really well as a piece of cinema as well. This film, I walked out and I was kind of like speechless. I was kind of like, I didn't really know what to think. And I'm not going to say this is like a classic or anything. I'm not going to say this is like, some masterpieces. I don't think it was perfect, not by any means, but I do really think this is a film that was quite special and quite different, and I really loved it for that. The cast were great. Charlie Hunnam, I'm a big fan of Charlie Hunnam actually. He's never really gotten the big kind of starring, I mean he has. He's kind of like, I kind of equate it to kind of Taylor Kitsch from like back in like, 2009, 2011, 2012, when he's in these movies like X-Men Origins Wolverine, John Carter, Battleship, and they just all tanked, and they tried to make him like this big movie star and it didn't work. And I actually liked Taylor Kitsch. I thought he was really good. I don't think he was a problem with any of those films. And it's kind of the same thing with Charlie Hunnam recently. He was in Pacific Rim, and he's in these big movies that tries to make him like a big movie star. But I really like seeing him in a film like this. It's something quite different. I think he really shone in this film because, as I said, it's not like a big flashy, over-the-top, oh look at me, awardsy kind of film. It's a film where the actors really kind of shone, and even though I'm a fan of Charlie Hunnam and I've seen him in a lot of movies, I think he did a really great job in this. And he's not a rising star, he's been in a lot of things, but I really think this is his kind of like breakthrough performance, in that when he's in a lot of these other films like Pacific Rim, he's playing this kind of generic action hero guy. Say in this, he really kind of became that character for me, and it really felt like I was watching the character of Percy Fawcett, and I think he did a really great job in that role. And also Sienna Miller's in this film, and I didn't realise until after I'd seen it, and I looked up the cast and I was like, what? I swear, like, I don't know if she's one of the best actresses working today, but every time I see her in the film, I never realise it's her until after I've seen the film. Like High Rise, Live by Night, and now The Lost City of Z. She's been in all three of these films, and I never realised that was her at the time until afterwards. So I think she's actually becoming a really great actress, because every time I see her in the film, she's like almost unrecognisable for me. Like I never realised it's her until after I've seen the film, and I'm like, wait, Sienna Miller? What? Like she's doing some really great work these past few years. I think she's been in so many films. Okay, Live by Night wasn't that great, but she was really good in it. She was really good in High Rise, and I think this might be her best performance yet. She was really great in that role. Again, she really became that character. Her relationship with Charlie Hunnam's Percy Fawcett I thought was really great as well. And again, it was also other great actors in this film. Robert Pattinson is in this film. I know, Robert Pattinson from Twilight's in this film. And this might be my favourite performance I've ever seen from him. I haven't seen Robert Pattinson in a lot of films. Like, you know, I'm not a fan of the Twilight films. I think he was in that Water for Elephants, which I kind of gave it a pass. I don't think that was supposed to be that great. But yeah, he was really good in this because it was a really quite different role for him. He's almost playing this kind of like this nerdy kind of bearded glasses kind of geographer almost, and he was really good. I really liked him in that role. I think he really suited the part and did a really great job. Tom Holland's also in this film as well, in quite a small role. He plays the older version of Charlie Hunnam's son in this film. Again, his relationship with his dad was really good in this film. And what I liked about this film is that it's one of those films where you think it's going to be a face value film, where it might be a little bit more style of substance, where there might not be much going on there. But the more this film went on, and the more I think about this film, it's like there was so much beneath the surface. There were so many layers to it, to the characters, to the relationships, to the story, to kind of what this guy was really thinking and how he was feeling, what was really going on in his head, and what it must have been like for him and what he went through. And there's so much that happens in this film. And another thing I liked was that it covered quite a lot of time, but it never felt really long. I mean, it's not a fast-paced film. It's a bit of a slow burner, but even though it felt slow, it was never a problem for me. I liked the fact that this film felt slow. It made it feel like a big kind of almost epic kind of classic adventure film almost, and I realised I think it really suited a kind of slow-paced feel. That was never a problem for me because I was never kind of sucked out of the film. I was always really kind of drawn into the film, like really captivated and mesmerised by what was transpiring on screen. And again, I don't want to get too deep into it, but there was so much kind of beneath the surface with this guy in terms of what he's been through and the kind of the mentality of it and what he's really kind of thinking, and how it's kind of almost, he's got this kind of deep kind of profound connection to the jungle almost, and he feels like it's like his destiny, and that he has to kind of go back out there, and he always gets obsessed with it, and he's determined to find this lost city, and he's convinced that it's like he has to do this and he has to go back. And it's like I absolutely loved it. I could really kind of connect with his character almost and relate to his mentality almost. There's just so many kind of elements to his kind of psychology in this film. He goes through so much, and yet he always wants to go back again and try again, and then every time he goes back to the jungle, because he goes back there like 3 times, every time it's a kind of different experience, something happens differently, and it's never kind of done in a kind of stereotypical kind of cliche way in terms of how he kind of interacts with the natives and what actually happens. It never feels like a kind of cliche kind of Hollywood movie. It very much feels like realistic. And I loved his character as well, in terms of how he kind of interacted with the people and how he was different. Another way I was able to relate to him as a character was how he was very different from all the other kind of stuffy kind of English people at the time. Like, he was a very different kind of character. There's a backstory hinted out of the relationship with his father, although we didn't really know his father, but his kind of father's kind of ruined his family name, and he's trying to kind of make up for his family name, and he's determined to kind of make a name for himself and oh my god, there was like literally so much to this film. Like, the more you unpacked, there was just so much there, so many things going on there beneath the surface, where he first starts off on these kind of explorations and these kind of mapping expeditions to try and kind of make a name for himself, try and clear his family name almost, but then he gets so embroiled with this kind of, and fascinated by the jungle and obsessed with it almost, that he just keeps wanting to go back, and he has this kind of like deep kind of profound connection to it, a soulful connection. And it's just, honestly, there's so much that I could get into with this film, but I I love the kind of the character and the story and how it was filmed. Also, it's from the producers of 12 Years a Slave and Moonlight. I think it's Brad Pitt's production company, if I'm not mistaken. Plan B were behind this, and again, I think they do an incredible job with this. James Gray's the director. I'm not overly familiar with his other work, but I think this was really great. From what I'm aware, his films often have this kind of neutral, kind of diplomatic feel to them, which isn't one-sided, and I think it worked really well in this case, because it was never like one person's good and the other person's bad. It was never like these people are good, these people are evil. It was all from all these different kind of angles and different perspectives in terms of how it was told from that main character's perspective as well. There's just so much about this song that I absolutely love. I could go on and on about it, but in the end I don't have all day here. So overall, I thought The Lost City of Z was a fantastic film. It was a film that was very kind of like unassuming but very captivating at the same time. I found myself mesmerised by this film, really drawn into it, very kind of beguiling and transfixing, and I was really kind of transported into the world of the film, and I absolutely loved the characters and the story. It was a very different kind of film, but even though it was different, I really liked it. So there's not really anything that I didn't like about this film. I was thinking about what rating to give it, and I'm like, I can't really think of anything that I didn't like about this film. So in the end, guys, The Lost City of Z has to get 5 stars. So there we go. I'm really interested to know your guys' thoughts on this film. Like, I'm really kind of fascinated and intrigued to know how people are going to react to this film. So if you have seen the film yet, what do you think about it? I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you like this and you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to see more. But for now, I've been Daniel Sullivan. I'll see you next time.